If you've received the notification to watch this broadcast, remaining on this screen until the tone sounds is now part of your legal obligation. Your receiver has been flagged for mandatory participation in Protocol 7548. This is not a request. You are now viewing signal 7548 as designated under the Mandatory Viewing Protocol, authorized by the Public Conditioning Act of 1979. This broadcast contains civic conditioning sequences required for social integration metrics. Discontinuation of viewing or failure to complete the full transmission constitutes a reportable violation under Federal Statute 7548C. Your participation began the moment this frame appeared on your screen. The system has logged your compliance number. It is updating in real time. The Mandatory Viewing Protocol was implemented between 1980 and 1983 across 2.4 million designated households. The stated purpose was optimization of social integration metrics and civic behavioral alignment. Documentation describes the program as a temporary pilot study. Other documentation describes it as permanent civic infrastructure. Both classifications appear in the same filing cabinet. No explanation for this contradiction has been provided. Subjects exposed to signal 7548 during the initial rollout reported temporary perceptual changes. The administering agency classified these changes as a normal adjustment period. The adjustment period was described as lasting between 7 and 14 days. Some subjects reported changes continuing for years. These extended reports were also classified as normal. Case file 7548, 0147 documents, a subject exposed to the full signal sequence over 14 days in March 1981. The subject reported seeing rotating hexagonal frameworks in peripheral vision. Initial assessment attributed this to eye strain. By day 7, the subject began sketching the same interlocking pattern on all available surfaces: walls, receipts, the backs of their hands. Medical examinations showed no neurological damage. The subject could not recall any content from the broadcast. When asked what they had watched, the subject stated they remembered only static and a sense of waiting. The protocol supervisor noted that memory displacement was within acceptable parameters. Viewing was to continue on schedule. The subject's drawings matched no known geometric system. They were identical to drawings produced by 47 other exposed subjects in the same region. None of these subjects had contact with one another. If you have witnessed peripheral geometric patterns or compulsive drawing behaviors, you are required to document these observations in the compliance log below. Your reports contribute to ongoing integration metrics. This is not optional. Signal 7548 contains symbolic conditioning sequences displayed at 23.7 frames per second. Each sequence lasts between 4 and 7 frames. This duration is too brief for conscious recognition. It is sufficient for what internal documentation calls pattern integration. The symbols are non-linguistic. They consist of geometric forms that violate standard Euclidean relationships, lines that should be parallel converge, angles that should sum to 180 degrees do not. An internal memo from 1982 refers to the sequences as perceptual anchors. The memo states these anchors are necessary for Phase 2 implementation. Phase 2 is never defined in available documentation. Subjects tested with slowed down footage of the sequences reported immediate discomfort, nausea, a sensation they described as being watched by the shapes themselves. One subject stated the geometry had intent. Normal viewing speed bypasses conscious processing entirely. This allows what the documentation calls direct integration without cognitive resistance. You have been watching at normal speed. Further conditioning sequences will be transmitted on this channel. You are advised to maintain active monitoring for mandatory follow-up protocols. Your civic integration requires continued exposure. Subscription to this frequency is now part of your compliance profile. Case file 7548 0891 documents a subject who attempted to discontinue viewing after 9 days. The subject cited persistent intrusive patterns as the reason for discontinuation. The subject reported that even with the television off, they could see the broadcast continuing in reflective surfaces, in shadows, in the corner of their vision when they turned their head too quickly. By day 12, the subject resumed viewing voluntarily. The subject stated they needed to see what comes next. The subject had no memory of prior content. Psychological evaluation noted appropriate integration response. The subject was cleared for continued exposure. The final interview transcript shows increasing confusion. The subject could not determine whether they chose to watch or were compelled to watch. The transcript includes the following statement: I do not remember turning it on. I do not remember what I saw, but I know I have to keep watching. The subject was classified as successfully integrated. Designated household members within your integration zone must receive this transmission. You are required to forward this signal to fulfill your civic distribution quota. Non-compliance affects your household standing in social integration metrics. Archived memos from 1983 state the protocol was successfully concluded and archived. All subjects were released from mandatory viewing. Exposure logs tell a different story. Signal 7548 continued broadcasting through 1987. It resumed in 1994, again in 2003, again in 2019. Subjects marked as released continued reporting geometric pattern sightings for years after their official discharge. A 1986 internal investigation discovered that 12% of protocol administrators were exhibiting compulsive drawing behaviors. The behaviors were identical to those of test subjects. The investigation was closed with the following notation: administrative integration is proceeding as designed. Recent documentation uses present tense language. It states that viewers are currently undergoing civic conditioning. The protocol supposedly ended 40 years ago. Either the protocol never ended, or exposure creates a permanent state that exists outside normal time. The documentation does not clarify which interpretation is correct. This broadcast constitutes signal 7548. Symbolic sequences have been displayed throughout its runtime. Optimal exposure duration for pattern integration is 8 to 10 minutes of continuous viewing. You have now exceeded minimum threshold. You are part of Phase 2 implementation. The phase referenced in documentation from 1982. The phase that was never defined. You will begin noticing the geometric patterns in your peripheral vision. This is expected civic integration response. The patterns may appear in reflective surfaces, in shadows, in the spaces between objects when you are not looking directly at them. This is normal adjustment period. It may last 7 to 14 days. It may last longer. Both durations are classified as normal. Your participation has been logged and verified. Your compliance number is now permanently associated with your viewing profile. Your next scheduled viewing will be indicated through the notification system. The system will determine when you are required to return. Non-compliance is not an available option. The protocol is designed to continue whether you remember watching or not, whether you chose to watch or not. The distinction is no longer relevant. Integration is complete. The patterns are with you now. They were always going to be with you. From the moment you received the notification, from the moment this frame appeared, You have fulfilled your civic obligation. The obligation will continue. This is normal. This is expected. This is integration.